Man's casual fishing trip turns into a viral story after he spots something odd floating amid Raystown Lake.
But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to HappyWorld, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories.
Ask Brad Meck his favorite hobby and he'll reply, fishing, without wasting a second. He loves it and goes fishing whenever he gets the chance. However, with time, the burden of work had increased and that consumed all his attention. Despite that, the man managed to sneak out some time for his favorite hobby. This one-of-a-kind incident took place during one of his fishing trips. It was one of the weekends of May and he'd gone all alone on a fishing trip to James Creek, Raystown Lake. He was expecting the same old experience, but what he actually got was beyond his imagination. The man was in his boat fishing when he saw a log approaching him. Initially, he didn't give it much of importance, but soon felt his heart skip a beat when he realized the object floating towards him was not a log. Brad spends his free time fishing. He started fishing with his father when he was just a kid, and now he was living far away from his parents, but he'd go fishing with his friends. One day, he decided to go fishing solo. Little did he know this expedition of his was going to make him famous overnight. That particular day, he went fishing on his own. It was a bright and warm day in May, perfect for fishing. Brad visited the same old lake and found himself a new spot. He liked experimenting, and that's why he decided to do fishing in a different spot than usual. According to Brad, the best thing about the place is that it keeps you away from the noises of the world. This was for the first time he realized how quiet and beautiful it was. Coming with friends was an altogether different experience to this one. That day, he noticed how many new things there were there. Brad had been looking for an opportunity to spend some time alone with himself for a long while. Lately, the man had become so busy with work and he hadn't time for anyone. And so when he got some time off, he decided to go on a fishing trip as it was his best stress buster. Raystown Lake is the largest lake there in Pennsylvania. Despite being a man-made reservoir, it's managed to earn a spot in the visitors' hearts. It is a peaceful place. Interestingly, the lake has a shoreline stretching up to 118 miles and only 4% of it is developed. That adds to its beauty. This place provides a perfect opportunity for nature lovers to get lost in nature. As far as Brad was concerned, many more stunning realizations came his way that day. There was no phone signal, as the lake was situated far from the city and it didn't have many facilities. He was fine with that as he actually wanted to get disconnected from the world for a while. It was an ordinary day for everyone except Brad Meck. He had no idea what the fishing trip he'd undertaken was going to change his life for good. Unaware of that, he packed his stuff and headed for the lake. He woke up early that morning to make all the necessary arrangements. He was very excited to start the trip. The man washed his car and placed his bag in the back seat, and after putting on his favorite music, he drove towards the lake. Brad sensed nothing odd there. He picked up his fishing rod and settled himself to start business. The man was expecting a quiet day. He hurled the line into the water and began waiting for it to move. As he was fishing for the first time in that spot, he didn't know how many catches he'd make. The other thing he liked about fishing was that he used to get to ride the boat. He loved boating itself as well. The man chose his favorite boat and drove towards the center of the lake. He was enjoying his time very much. Things were only going to get more complicated from now on, though. After spending a few minutes, he realized the spot wasn't for fishing as he got nothing. Nevertheless, he kept trying to look for fish. Was he really going to catch anything? Well, contrary to all assumptions, he did actually catch something, and it was amazing. While waiting for fish to get caught, he spotted something bobbing up and down in the water. Initially, he didn't give it much thought as he assumed it was a log. There were many trees around and maybe the log had fallen from them. But as the log moved closer, he began to sense something off about it. The brown-colored log was floating towards him. Once again, he directed his attention to the fishing rod. The man hadn't caught a single fish as of yet. He wondered what could be the reason, and it was then that his attention was diverted to the log again. Well, the log was sticking out like a sore thumb on the lake. It was the only thing floating on transparent, clean, and blue water. For obvious reasons, the log was attracting his attention. He took out his phone from the pocket and clicked a picture of the log. It looked beautiful in the blue water. And when the log reached close enough to be identified, the man felt his heart in his mouth. It was not a log. The man kept staring at it in disbelief. He felt as if his hands had gone numb. Afraid, the man was all alone in the spot. There was not a single soul around. The suspicious object made its way to his boat. Brad didn't realize the rod slipped out of his hand. However, he managed to grab it again. He was trying to figure out a way to tackle the situation but was out of ideas. Brad had to take pictures of the object because he knew no one would believe him if he'd tell the story without any evidence. He hastily began taking pictures of the object. His heart was still racing as his doubts were still not confirmed. The man recalled, "I saw it coming towards me. I thought it was just a beaver or something." His second guess was wrong too. The man was laying his eyes on something unbelievable. Brad further said, "It got closer and I looked at it and I thought, holy crap." He was right, there was actually a wild animal floating in the water. All of his confusion dispelled when the animal stretched his head up. A current coursed through Brad's body. The creature was only a couple of meters away when he realized it was a bear cub. The bear looked extremely tired. It was too young to swim in the water. Despite its age, the cub managed to survive until now somehow. Furthermore, the cub was unable to hold his head above the water much. It was throwing its hands and legs in the water to reach the boat. What should one do when encountering such a situation? If we listen to wildlife experts, whoever is confronted with a wild animal, the person should leave the animal be and step back, and then they should call the experts. However, the situation here was different. Firstly, Brad's phone was out of cell service. Second, even a minute delay could have cost the cub's life. The cub had almost drowned. There was no way he was going to leave the cub all alone to fend for itself. He had to think on his feet to rescue the helpless animal. Brad said the cub was going to drown if I didn't help it. He soon realized he had only one option. In order to rescue the cub, he had to take it out with his own hands. It involved a lot of risk to Brad. What if he got bit? But at the same time, he had no other option. So he decided to keep his fears at bay. The man extended his hands to the water to grab the cub. Just as I was getting ready to grab it, I thought to myself, please don't bite me. Whereas the man wanted to rescue the cub, he didn't want to land in any trouble. The man must not have ever imagined that his casual fishing trip would turn into a rescue mission. The man had actually risked his life to save the bear cub despite many fatal possibilities. What if he'd gotten attacked? The first part was done. He managed to drag the wet bear onto the boat. Thankfully, Brad remained unscathed. It was as calm as can be. It didn't show any hostility. Maybe the bear cub was too exhausted to do anything, or perhaps knew the man was trying to help it. He'd rescued the cub, but what he was gonna do after that was unknown. His phone was useless without signal, and additionally, he had no experience in dealing with any kind of animal. After pondering a while, he came up with a dangerous idea. He decided to take the cub back to the forest where it come from. But before that, he had to make sure the cub was doing fine. He dried it with a small towel he had on hand, and after that, he steered the cub in the direction he'd found the bear swimming from. His mother must be looking for him, but the man didn't want to confront the mother. Brad shared, "I kind of figured maybe the mom swam across first. Perhaps the cub couldn't match her pace and got left behind. Whereas the cub was struggling in the water, his mother had reached the shore." The man took the cub to the bank and put it on the ground. The cub gave a look around the forest and circled back to Brad. The man further explained, "Because the baby was so little it was struggling. I just figured she'd be up on the bank somewhere, so that's where I dropped it off and figured they'd get reunited." He kept gazing at Brad with his tired eyes. It seemed as if he was showing some gratitude, and after that the cub started looking for his mother. Brad opened up that he'd never thought anything else other than getting it and helping it to the shore. Brad took giant steps towards his boat after leaving the cub on shore. He was glad that he didn't have to face Mama Bear, as the encounter could have led to some much more serious consequences. The man was happy that he brought the bear back to safety. The man was aware of the warnings issued by the Pennsylvania Game Commission that prohibits one from getting involved in any kind of interaction with wild animals. But he wasn't left with much time as the cub needed immediate assistance. Even though he was well aware of the bear's nature, he went on to help him. Well, it takes a lot of courage to do something like Brad did. The man could have gotten in big trouble, but instead of leaving the cub to his fate, he decided to help him out. Not only that, but he took him to the forest as well. So, how'd you like this story? Isn't it amazing? Before starting his day, Brad must not have imagined what he was going to face that day. Despite all the doubts and fears, he decided to help the cub. I don't know about the best, but this trip must have become the most memorable one of his life.